On your smartphone, you'll be able to watch and listen live wherever you are at jessfm.ca. We are live in studio today with a member of our City Council here in Lethbridge, Blaine Higgin. Blaine, thank you for coming in today to chat with us.
Thanks, Brent, for having me.
It's a pleasure having you in the studio today. So let's get our listeners and watchers a little bit more familiar with you. How long have you been in Lethbridge? Born and raised here. How long have you been on City Council?
Actually, I was born and raised in BC, Sparwood of all places. I'm sure it's kind of it's the metropolis of Sparwood, right? A very small community, just west of the BC Alberta border. I grew up there, graduated from school there, and then moved quickly down. If you're not a coal miner working in the mines, it was tough to find work, and I came down to Lethbridge shortly after.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And so what? Just that brought you here, or did you have a job or anything like that?
My aunt lives here in Lethbridge, and I came down and stayed with her for a while there, looking for work, and I found some work at if you remember, Brent, the McDonald's down on Mayor McGrath Drive. And it was actually moved. They had the little. It was kind of where the movie meal was, and I guess it's Popeye's Chicken.
Yeah, Popeye's. Yeah, that was McDonald's, first McDonald's.
And I started working at this McDonald's, and I was actually transferred down to Scenic Drive because they were just opening the new Scenic Drive one. So that's just down from your studio here.
Wow.
And so I worked there as well as kind of two jobs. I worked at the Lethbridge Lodge as well in banquets. So I got work right away, and from then just different work over the years, and so that was back in late 80s. Got into Save On Foods. I was over there when they moved to town and started up. Worked in the non-foods over there, and from that point, I guess background of the story, I got into business here with some graphic design and some work, and then also I was started a limousine company, executive 4-star limousine, and also had a print shop, Copy Express. I started Copy Express.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so that was down here on 3rd Avenue, and then we had a salon. So just been a few different businesses over the years, and so just from that point there, I've always had an interest in politics.
So you're a businessman here in Lethbridge, and for that reason, you have a vested interest. So was that what led you into city politics?
Yeah, I really thought that at the time that I had looked at getting into city council was there just didn't happen to be a lot of, in my opinion at the time, business representation. And I thought it was important to have somebody that represented small business in our community, as we know that's kind of definitely the economic driver throughout our community. And so I just wanted to make sure that there was a voice there.
Yeah. So. Is that a difficult process to become a city councillor?
Well, it was an interesting process for me. I took a different path, Brent, I'll tell you what. So I started off with, the first time I ran, I was not successful. There was... I can't remember how many, there was 20 or something at that time, and I think I was 10th on there, but they only take 8. So of course didn't quite make it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot the next time, and I think the same thing. I was 10th out of 8 councillors. There was 30 at that time that ran, and I thought I was done. Well, my parents have always been, if first you don't succeed, try again, right? And so I tried a third time, and that's when I was successful in 13. And so, I ran in 7, ran in 10, and then again in 13. So 3 attempts at it.
Third time the charm.
Yeah, third time's the charm, that's right.
That's good. And so how many members of city council are there?
There's 8 members.
8 members, okay.
Yeah, 8 members of city council and the mayor. So the mayor is part of that council as well, so there's 9 of us total.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
And as a city councilman, you're not just sitting on meetings with city council, you're part of other committees. What committees?
We all have the opportunity to sit on different committees, and we change throughout the committees to get a better understanding of what's happening in our community. For example, currently I'm on a Lethbridge Housing Authority, so I sit on that committee. I also sit on the Exhibition Park. So that was that's a great committee. CUDA, which is Canadian Urban Transit, so that's for our transit throughout our community. That's another one that I sit on. And trying to think of others here. I was just there's so many we changed.
You mentioned the police.
And the Lethbridge Police I'm on that commission, and so that's my newest one. So I've been on that for a year, and really enjoy all the committee work that I've done.
So you had a hand in choosing our current chief then?
Yeah, I was happy to be on the HR committee,
Okay.
and there's a group of 4 of us that went through the interview process and through the hiring process and presented a candidate back to the police commission. So yeah, it was a close to a year of a lot of interviews and going through different applications, and I am super excited for who has been currently appointed as the new police chief. I think Shaheen Madizada is going to do a fantastic job. I'm really excited.
Oh, that's good. That's good. How many applications did you get for that?
Oh gosh, there's, I think it's starting. There's over 50 of them.
Oh
that's
wow,
started.
really? That's a lot.
So there's a lot. Some great candidates, and yeah, absolutely.
Oh, nice. And you mentioned Lethbridge housing, so you deal with rents and things like that as well. There's a huge backlash sometimes on the homeless population can't afford rent and all that type of thing. How do you address that?
It's a struggle because we don't have enough housing, as I'm sure you're well aware of, to how many people that need it within our community. And so we work directly with the provincial government, Lethbridge Housing, and get the funding and stuff required to be able to help those most in need. So if it's rent supplement, that's one of the programs that are there as well, and to help those in need and find the housing for them. So there's often we work with different owners of properties throughout the community. Okay. So not just properties that are owned by the province or by Lethbridge Housing, but by other landlords, and we help get them tenants to fill their space.
And we've had here in Lethbridge the last few months controversy surrounding, and it affected the homeless too, but the safe consumption site, which affects them a lot, right? And we had a big fraud controversy in that. Yeah. Can you address anything with that? How did that come to play? How did it play out now? What's in the works for that?
You know what? It's now at the police. That's as far as it gone. After the audit was done, they found financial irregularities, and so that has now been passed over to the police. The supervised consumption site had their last day of opening was on August 31st, here just this a few days ago. And they do have an interim, so it's a mobile unit that is now being set up, and that is what is in the interim until something else is found. I guess they're focusing more on the recovery. We want to make sure we get these individuals that are suffering with addiction back into work, get them housing, get them jobs, integrated society. And you know what? They would want that as much as we want that. And sometimes that pathway just isn't easy. And so we got to make sure we have the people that help them and get them the services they need, because that's the most important part. We don't want anybody overdose. We don't want anybody left out without getting the services that they need. So
is that a possibility in the near future, or is it a long way off getting, say, a recovery site or something? So
there have been recovery sites been announced by this government. It's going to take some time. They're going to be built here in early next year. Okay. They expect to have them done next year. And there's that. It's not. I know there's a lot of people there saying, "Oh, now that the supervised consumption site is done, everything is going to be fine." It's not. There's going to be a lot of concern still. There's a lot of addicted, those that were suffering with addictions throughout our community, and we need to help them. This is a way, so it's going to be a pathway. It's a journey. It's not a turn the switch and everything is fine, and we're not going to have the concerns that we have or the needle debris throughout our community. That will continue until these people can get into the services and get the help that they need.
Yeah, and it's something to think about too, because what happened before the safe injection site? This was all going on before that, right? Yeah. So it's the underlying problems, not just dealing with that.
I think that it's personally speaking, then, and I'm just speaking myself, is that a lot of this was brought in. A lot of it, I think when they had a lot of when we opened up the supervised consumption site, it was, you've heard the terminology, Brent, build it and they will come. I believe that has happened. Different communities came here because we offered those services, and and we're seeing a lot of these individuals are going back to the communities that they came from.
Okay.
If it's Edmonton, if it's Calgary, and so that is we'll see that happen. Don't get me wrong. There's still those individuals here that have come that are still here. And again, I can't emphasize enough, we need to find the help for them.
Yeah.
Please open your hearts, help those in need, if it's through different services that are trying to help them, donate to these causes, the food banks, the Streets Alive, and those that are desperately needing help.
Yeah, and I think it helps to not have a closed mind, to be open-minded and
Yes.
Sincerely want to, because you can have closed-minded and think, this person's an addict and that's it. And
and it's tough to call
shove
a person
them off,
addict because it's
Yeah.
really tough, right?
Yeah.
And so they're struggling with that addiction, and we all have addictions. It might be just I
not as dangerous.
I like
as
my
those,
Dr.
right?
Pepper at times, and some not as dangerous, but there's some addictions that we all deal with on a regular basis, and I think it's just, again, we just need to get help for these people. It's so important.
And the thing is, nobody woke up, one day at 18-year-old and said, "Oh, gee, I'm going to be an addict," right?
And we don't know what they've gone
we don't know
through
what
in their
they've gone
lives.
through, and that's the problem.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
I've had the opportunity to speak with a few different throughout as I walk through the downtown core, and this majority of that's where a lot of this is happening. And this wasn't a plan of theirs.
No.
Again, like you said, Brent, you don't wake up saying, I'm going to be
I want to shoot up
addicted
needles,
to something.
right?
It's something. Some of their lives, I
Yeah.
tell you, my heart goes out to them. What they've had to deal with, the different mental, physical, sexual abuse in the past that have put them over this level, and why they're doing what they're doing. So that it's so much grander than we think. It's not just someone I want to get high. There's some serious mental trauma that a lot of them have struggled and been through, and we just need to get those services for them.
And just remember, there's always a reason why they're doing that. That's
Absolutely.
first and foremost. You're listening live to Feel the Beat here on Jess FM. Go to jessfm.ca. I'm Brent, the host. Our guest, Blaine Higgin, today. So go to jessfm.ca if you haven't already. On your computer or smartphone, you can listen and watch live. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube. We are on our own Jess TV as well as on radio, so you have tons of ways to watch and listen, so there's no excuse for you not to. Right? There you go.
Great.
So we've addressed a lot of things, and one of the things that happened through the world into a huge tailspin is the whole coronavirus thing, right? Which probably changed the way city councils and other governments do things.
Absolutely.
What changed for you guys? Of course we see it in the media or whatever, but
a lot of our meetings and stuff, obviously you couldn't have those meetings.
Yeah.
And so from the different committees and stuff that we just already talked about, it was hard for us to get to these meetings because you couldn't meet without having the restrictions that were put in place. And so we found out that over time we've done a lot online. So you'll have the Zoom meetings, you'll have the Microsoft Team meetings, the Google Hangouts. This is how meetings are being done now. And I'm wondering if this is going to actually be the norm in the future, because there has been a convenient side to it that has worked well. But I myself, I'd like to be in a room with individuals, but I know it's tough. We've had for our council meetings, there's only limited amount allowed in. And so we've got the barriers up and you mask up and et cetera, et cetera. It's different. I hate to say it when I hear it all the time, though, it's the new norm. I don't like that norm.
Yeah.
And I hope we get through that, Brent.
And I do too, and a lot of people do, right? Because I think the face-to-face contact, we're social creatures, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to have that contact. The hugging, people are huggers out there, right? They can't do that, and that threw them into this big loop. And I think in some ways, it's been it is a serious issue, but it's been taken and blown out of proportion in some ways, right?
I think, sorry to interrupt, but there's something that it always catches me with this whole COVID issue that we're going through, is that we look at the inconveniences we have with meetings. We look at the inconveniences with shopping, masking up, etc. What we are not looking at as much, in my opinion, is all of the domestic abuse that is happening out there. We're not looking at the suicide spikes that are happening. the business closures that will put those business owners into a different mental state of mind where sometimes their lives are taken because of the stresses that they go through. Families go through this. Are you shorter with your children because you're angry because your business wasn't doing what it's supposed to, or whatever? That's a struggle. That's a total different thing than us just having to put on a mask and do our shopping, and then we're trying to deal with this coronavirus on a regular basis. But the mental side of things, to me, is far greater
for sure.
than what we're dealing
for
with.
For sure,
as
yeah,
far as
because
masks.
you mentioned the financial struggle, and that happens. People lost their jobs.
Yes.
And they probably won't get those back. I mean, some of them they might. There's some that hire back, but they may not get those back. What are they going to do?
And there's grants too. So for example, they're saying, okay, you can stop to pay. We're going to put it off for a few months. Well, you're still going to have to pay it in a few months when things have been quiet over the previous months. There's that stress level too. So it's not like it's a grant. You're just going to pay that money back.
Yeah.
And I know through my business, it's been a struggle, and we've had to. We were down to minimal because, of course, businesses were closed, and that's what my business does. As a print shop, we do a lot of business work. Yeah. So we were down 87%. It just completely plummeted for a few months. Yeah. That's tough. There's been a lot of stress with that for sure, and you want to keep your staff employed, and it's difficult to do that because honestly, there's no revenues coming in, and you can only do it for so long, right? So those stresses of their employees that don't have work, your stress of them not having work because I've got, I think, the best, I'm not going to lie to you, the best employees in Lethbridge work for me.
That's good.
I tell you what,
heard it from Blaine.
They are phenomenal. And so this is they've really dealt through this. We've rehired back a majority, and so they're back again. And you know what? It's been a challenge, but we're working through it, as I'm sure most businesses are out there.
Yeah, and as everybody knows, there's been a recent mask mandate that has been passed in the city. Right. When that was going to be passed, what was the reaction to that at City Hall? Were you getting phone calls? Were you getting emails about it? What was all going on with that? Well, because there's a lot of controversy about it.
I'll tell you what, we went through a few different topics here. We're discussing the SCS and some of these other topics that have been really controversial throughout our community. This one, I'll tell you, Brent, has been one of the biggest in the 7 years that I have been on council. Wow. It has been, it's creating such division throughout our community. And right or wrong, whatever side you're on, it's just creating a lot of division. Yeah. And I really, it's been tough because I know a lot of people say, well, look, we've done so well. We are down to 0 cases in Lethbridge. Why did we have to bring this in? Why did we bring it when it was bad 3 months ago? Why are we putting in this bylaw now? I've had, we're at 0 cases. Now we're at, I think it was 15 or 16 here yesterday since we've put this in. Understanding that's not the whole reason why you're masking up, is still to prevent more. But you go through that and it's a struggle. I know I've had a call at my business saying, do I require a mask when I come in? I said, yes, we're recommending a mask. Well, what if I don't want to wear one? Well, we recommend one, but think about it on my side. I've lost, as I told you, almost 90% of my business. Yeah. I need that. So I said, if you can remain socially distanced, Alex, you can come in the store. I didn't want to turn that down. Yeah. They would have went on to Amazon. They would have done their shopping elsewhere. I can't afford to do that. Yeah. So there was my frustration in voting against the mandatory mask bylaw. We were doing a great job. We were following the Chief Medical Officer of Health's her advice. Wash your hands. Stay home if you're sick. Social distance if you can't, and put on a mask if you cannot remain socially distant. Yeah. So for that reason, we did good. We were following that, and I think we were doing wonderful. But then we loaded on this mandatory masking, and this has been a struggle by a lot of businesses. And as I indicated earlier, representing a lot of different businesses, they have reached out to me in the hundreds of concerns.
I believe it, because I've talked to even a few around here, and people are reluctant to go into their stores if they have to wear a mask because it's a freedom of choice type thing, and they feel threatened by that. Plus, I don't know if with the reason behind the masks, because in order for a mask to really work, under safety rules, it's got to like be sealed. And you look at some of these masks and people have them down below their noses and stuff like that. Are they really effective in that sense? Have been people been trained to properly use them, right? And I don't know if they thought that out or if they thought about that, because you know, a paper mask would be a biohazard if it's infected, and if you're touching it and pulling it down, it becomes a biohazard. And
if it's a biohazard, I go on a walk and I pick up. And should I be picking them up? No. There's 25 on a walk. You'll find discarded masks. Those are biohazards, as you indicated. You know, what's next? Do we mandate single-use masks or not? It's just caused a lot of angst in our community. And if you were to walk into a store without a mask, you're going to be looked down on or someplace if you walk in with a mask. So it's that concerning. We need to just respect those that do want to wear them. If they're not wearing a mask, just be caring, understand that there could be an underlying medical condition that they can't wear a mask. Let's just try to be a happier society, right?
Yeah, and that's what it takes. I mean, you can't ask somebody, you know, what health reasons do you have that you're not wearing a mask, because that's private information under the Privacy Act.
Absolutely.
Right? They have no right to ask that.
You have
right?
no. That's right.
And
you don't need a card.
No, you don't.
You don't need a card. If you say that you can't wear a mask, you cannot ask me, Brent, when I come in.
Produce your card. Let me see.
Right? Why can't you wear a mask? No, that's our right. And if we've got a medical condition, then and the city has recently posted that there's no reason to if you have a condition, you don't need a card.
And that's good, because I think that was really causing a lot of angst with people. You know, I've got asthma or whatever, I'm going to go in there and they're going to, you know, if I don't wear one, they're going to boot me out, or I'm going to be escorted out by security. I think that was a big thing. Or fined, right? Like, how are you going to enforce a $100 fine?
And Councillor Parker said, and you know what, I agree 100%. This, in my opinion, is a lawless bylaw. So we've already been told that we're not going to enforce it. Then why do we have a bylaw if we're not going to enforce it? I know they say if you have a bylaw, people will just follow it and they will do it. We were before. I truly believe we got down to 0 cases in Lethbridge because people were listening to the experts' advice. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to vote for something that doesn't have medical and doesn't have proof. I struggle with that. I'm told on a regular basis, Blaine, listen to the experts. I did on this. And you know what? It's
right. And I've struggled with that too, because I've got a lot of safety training. Plus, I've worked in janitorial at like doctors' offices and stuff. And you're throwing away they're throwing away their mask. There's a specific container. If you throw it somewhere else, oh man, it is a huge deal, right? Biohazards, blah, blah, blah. So do you put biohazard containers in every place with that mandate, right? And that leads to a whole mess of other problems, right?
So needle pickup boxes, biohazard boxes, masks,
and I think that was a lot of concern people had, right?
It was.
You know.
And again, it comes back. We need to respect those that are not or are, because we don't know the reasons. I'll tell you what. My biggest concern with this whole COVID, and it's obviously with the stats and stuff that are out there. Seniors. We need to protect our seniors. That is the number one thing we need to do. This is something that is very tough with seniors. If it gets into a senior's lodge, we've seen the results, and it's sad. It's heartbreaking. And is it tough? My grandma, I'd love to go visit my grandma. I can't go visit my grandma. I want to visit her, but I'm so scared that what if? So protect the seniors. And I guess I could say that. Make sure that your family is taken care of. They can't go out and shop. Some of them are scared to go and shop, and you know what? Legitimately enough, they should be. That there's could be concerns out there. Help those. If you need to pick up groceries, you need to do any of that. We need to help those seniors. That's the number one thing that we need to follow, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Sorry about that. I should have this thing turned off.
Busy man. No worries, man. Hey, you're on city council. You're allowed.
You should have it on vibrate though.
You're allowed. No worries. You're listening live to Feel the Beat here on Jess FM. Thank you for tuning in this afternoon. It's different time for my show, but I wanted to come on during the week because our guest, Blaine Higgin, that was the only time he could come on, City Councilman. Thanks for coming in. We talked about a lot of things so far. It's great. You're a busy guy. You're a businessman, councilman, and that, family man. You got to fit all that in, you know, on different committees. What is next for Blaine? What's in the future for you?
Oh gosh, what's next for Blaine? I kind of live my life one day at a time sometimes, Brent, I guess. And, you know, I just, my wife and I are two children. One had went away to college in Calgary to SAIT, sorry, and the other to Nate in Edmonton. And so they're out of the house. It's been a little different. We've got a couple dogs. Okay. And I guess it's replaced with a couple dogs, but it's really different. And I think what's next is just, I want my life to somewhat, I don't want to say slow down, because I don't know what I would do. I'm seeing that I'm always got to be doing something, right? But I want a little more time to travel. I want to spend more time with my family. And so future, I take it one day at a time. Yeah. And you know what? I like what I'm doing now. I love the community. I like to try to make a difference. Trust me, not everybody is happy with your decisions. No. I know that for a fact. Believe me.
That is very true, yeah.
But I think it's important to speak transparent and honest.
But sometimes it takes guts too to go against, you know,
the grain sometimes.
The grain, right? And that's
why transparency to me is everything. I want to make sure that I know numerous times I've acted in council. Let's have the community input. Yeah. And I know I hear the voices. Well, this is what we were voted to do. We are voted to make these decisions for the community. Well, sometimes the community want their input. They want to give their input, and we can take that information and have a better idea when we're making decisions in council. Yeah. So I appreciate that. I love business input. I love input from the general citizenry throughout the community. Yeah. I think it's important. Yeah. We need to listen, and that's how we can make decisions, informed decisions. Yeah,
well, under a democracy, it's got to be that way. Sometimes, you know, a leader can figure, oh yeah, you know, they voted me to make this decision, but getting their input isn't necessarily in their mind because I'm here to make this decision, right? And that can be a bit of a catch-22 as well.
Absolutely. So you do have to make some, and there's not always easy decisions.
No, for sure.
There's decisions, Brent, at time that I have had the community at large go, this is what we want. I mean, personally, I wasn't convicted enough with that decision, and I needed to really research that out to understand why that was so important. And that's why I think it's extremely important to get that input, because that's why we debate in council. Did you know this? And then the councillors might go, oh, I didn't think about that. That may change my decision. Debate is so important. And I think that's why, again, there's times where I thought, well, I don't know if I support that. And after I go through and talk with the citizens and talk with others about this, I find that the reason for my vote, I feel confident in what I do. I try to do what's best, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I try to do what's best, and sometimes, well, a lot of times, you're not going to please everybody.
No, you're not. And that's the way with everything, right? So maybe there's a run for mayor in your cards?
Oh gosh, no, don't even put that one out there. I tell you what, there's a scare. When you look, I look right now what our mayor is dealing with, and do I want to have to deal with that? I don't know. That's a pretty scary thing. And you know, I live my life one day at a time. I never say yes. I never say no. Yeah. I don't know what will be out there for me. But you know, I'm just day by day. We'll see what happens.
Que
right?
Sera, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure. So, and your business in town here. What is the name of that again?
Copy Express.
Copy Express. Okay, so Copy Express. Check out Copy Express, Blaine, for all your copy needs. You do all kinds of copying and
copies and posters and banners and business cards. Excellent. And pretty much we're doing a lot of floor decals and stuff like that right now when it comes to you know, with COVID, stand here, stand there. So we do vinyl signs for floors or for walls or for lots of different things for sure.
And as a city councilman, can citizens get a hold of you directly? Absolutely. Is there just one phone number they phone?
I put my cell phone out there. I know a lot of people have said, why do you do that? Because you know what? That's how I'm in touch. And so my number is on the website. And I'll say now it's 380-9530. Reach out to me, text me, call me, and I'm more than happy to talk to you. I think one of the main concerns I have is keyboard warriors sometimes. You know what that's like, right?
Yeah.
And so often I've had the opportunity to actually, I'll get a comment on Facebook. I don't do a lot of interaction on Facebook just because it goes down rabbit holes that maybe it's probably not best, and there's conversation that shouldn't be had. So I'll reach out personally to these individuals, and they have been amazing.
Yeah.
It's been some great conversations I've had by reaching out directly, because we don't know, why is Blaine wired this way? Why did he make this decision? You know what? Pick up your phone and call me.
Yeah. And that's it. And I think that's the main thing. And a lot of people don't remember that everybody has an opinion. Everybody thinks one way.
Absolutely.
Or not everybody thinks one way. They have different opinions. Respect that. Don't, because somebody thinks differently, don't call them a blah, 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 blank, 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 right?
Absolutely.
Because there's no need for
It's
that,
a struggle.
Right? It is.
Social media, Brent, it's and you're live 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do this question anytime. And I remember hearing from a counselor that from many years ago when the city hall was in a different location, kind of Kinney Corner to where while they're doing the construction, they didn't have the social media. If you were angry at me, Brent, you would sit down, you'd pick up a pen, you would write a letter, you'd lick that envelope, you'd seal it, you'd walk down, you'd mail it in. It was different. You didn't have your cell phones, you didn't have email, you didn't have, and so it's just a different world we're in now.
Yeah.
We're always live, we're always connected, we're always available, and it's a struggle because I'll get up in the morning and I might have, say, 130 emails. Well, I like to try to personally reply to each one, but you'll get, say, 4 or 5 down.
Right.
And those ones have replied, and you're still got this 100 and something left, right?
Ouch.
So I guess if there's anything I can say as well to the listeners, that I will reach out. It may take sometimes, depending on the situation, a couple days. I hate to do that, but reach out on my phone if it's taking too long, and I'd be more than happy to speak to you.
Sounds good. Well, Blaine, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio today. Hope we can do this again. You seem like you are connected to the community and making a difference in there, and that's great. And that's what we need here. Yeah. We need, and people to stand up when something is, they feel is not maybe right or whatever. Stand up. That's what everybody needs to do. Everybody needs to stand up for themselves anyhow, right?
And so, shout out to you guys. This is fantastic to be able to have a meeting to get people's opinions and their different views out to the community. So a huge shout out to Jess FM and yourself there for making this available.
We try and make it interesting to the community, but also informative and important too.
Excellent.
So that's what we've been trying to do. Thank you for tuning in today to Feel the Beat. I'm Brent. I'm the host of Feel the Beat here on Jess FM. JessFM.ca. You can watch us, listen to us live on YouTube, Facebook, on our streaming TV, and on radio. Go there, save the page. Thank you for tuning in today. Have a great afternoon.